YouTube. I think everything's working. I'm a couple minutes early. So. My hair looks green and purple up here. Weird. Hey, Lily. Hey, Tony. I'm live on Facebook as well. This is an AA meeting, so anybody joining, please be mindful in the chats that this is a group for AA meeting, and everybody's welcome. You don't have to chat in the chat if you don't feel like that's something you want to do. I completely understand it is, somewhat not it isn't everybody's business. So, I can understand the confidentiality and all of that. Yeah, Facebook always has slow connection. I don't know why, but whatever. So can you hear me okay, Lily? But that is all I ask in, okay, thank you. That's what I ask in my chat is no judgment. It is a judgment-free zone. And don't harass people that are in the chat because they might not be the ones suffering from alcoholism. They could be here to support a friend or family member. And I also have family that comes in here and supports my channel as well. So just, be kind. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and say the Serenity Prayer. My name's Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. If you want to know where I'm getting my steps from, they're in here, but I know them by heart. I do get tongue-tied on them sometimes, so just be mindful of that. But yeah. Step 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives toward the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So we are right now reading the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book. It's a little one. I see you over there. Tony, I see you over there. So we are on step 7, and I put in the description. I didn't on Facebook because I didn't have time. I was running behind, and I didn't want to be way late. So, but I always put in the description what page we're reading, the book we're reading, the story we're reading, or step or tradition that we're reading. If you don't have a book, I suggest download the app, and it's pretty much any of the apps that you can download. They have an AA daily reflection app, and that's where I have found a lot of my day-to-day things. So just it's just something that you can use as a tool, as well as meetings, having a sponsor, talking to people about your alcoholism, being open about your journey, and oh, it's okay. But yeah, and I got this gift for free, and that's why I do this, is to share it for free. And I share my story and things that work for me and help me get through every day of working the steps in my day-to-day planning and everything. So we're on step 7, page 70 in the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book. So 7. Humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. Since this step so specifically concerns itself with humility, we should pause here to consider what humility is and what the practice of it can mean to us. Indeed, the attainment of greater humility is the foundation principle of each of AA's 12 steps. For without some degree of humility, no alcoholic can stay sober at all. Nearly all AAs have found, too, that unless they develop much more of this precious quality than may be required just for sobriety, they still haven't much chance of becoming truly happy without it. They cannot live to much useful purpose or in adversity be able to summon the faith that can meet any emergency. Humility as a word and as an ideal has a very bad time of it in our world. Not only is the idea misunderstood, the word itself is often intensely disliked. Many people haven't even a nodding acquaintance with humility as a way of life. Much of the everyday talk we hear and a greater deal of what we read highlights man's pride in his own achievements. With great intelligence, men of science have been forcing nature to disclose her secrets. The eminence resources now being harnessed promise such a quantity of material blessings that many have come to believe that a man-made millennium lies just ahead. Poverty will disappear, and there will be such abundance that everybody can have all the security and personal satisfactions he desires. The theory seems to be that once everybody's primary instincts are satisfied, there won't be much left to quarrel about. The world will then turn happy and be free to concentrate on culture and character. Solely by their own intelligence and labor, men will have shaped their own destiny. Now, this is men, women, all all alike. It's not just for the one or the other. It's for everyone. Certainly, no alcoholic and surely no member of AA wants to depreciate material achievements, nor do we enter into debate with the many who still so passionately cling to the belief that to satisfy our basic natural desires is the main object of life. But we are surely that no class of people in the world ever made a worse mess of trying to live by this formula than alcoholics. For thousands of years, we have been demanding more than our share of security, prestige, and romance. When we seemed to be succeeding, we drank to dream still greater dreams. When we were frustrated, even in part, we drank for oblivion. Never was there enough of what we thought we wanted, and all these strivings, so many of them well intentioned, our crippling handicap had been our lack of humility. We had lacked the perspective to see that character building and spiritual value had to come first, and that material satisfactions were not the purpose of living. Quite characteristically, we had gone all out in confusing the ends with the means, instead of regarding the satisfaction of our material desires as a means by which we could live and function as human beings. We had taken these satisfactions to be the final end and aim of life. True, most of us thought good character was desirable, but obviously, good character was something one needed to get on with the business of being self satisfied. My mom just tried to call. With a proper display of honesty and morality, we stand a better chance of getting what we really wanted. But whatever we had to choose between character and comfort, the building was lost in the dust of our chase after what we thought was happiness. Seldom did we look at character building as something desirable in itself, something we would like to strive for, whether our instinctual needs were met or not. We never thought of making honesty, tolerance, and true love of man and God the daily basis of living. This lack of anchorage, anchorage to any permanent value, this blindness to the true purpose of our lives, produced another bad result. For just so long as we were convinced that other bad results, convinced that we could live exclusively by our own individual strength and intelligence. For just that long was a working faith in in a higher power impossible. This was true even when we believed that God exists. We could actually have earnest religious beliefs which remained barren because we were still trying to play God ourselves. I hate when I take my eyes off of where I'm reading. For just as long as we were convinced that we could live exclusively by our own individual strength and intelligence, for just as long was a working faith in a higher power impossible. This was true even when we religious beliefs which remained barren because we were still trying to play God ourselves. As long as we placed self-reliance first, a genuine reliance upon a higher power was out of the question. That basic ingredient of all humility, a desire to seek and do God's will, was missing. Hi, Ava. For us, the process of gaining a new perspective was unbelievably painful. It was only by repeated humiliations that we were forced to learn something about humility. It was only at the end of a long road, marked by successive defeats and humiliations, and the final crushing of our self sufficiency, that we began to feel humility as something more than a condition of groveling despair. Every newcomer in Alcoholics Anonymous is told and soon realized for himself or whatever, that his humble admission of powerlessness over alcohol is the first step toward liberation from its paralyzing grip. So it is that we first see humility as a necessity, but this is the barest beginning. To get completely away from our aversions to the idea of being humble, to gain a vision of humility as the avenue to true freedom of the human spirit. To be willing to work for humility as something to be desired for itself takes most of us a long, long time, a whole lifetime geared to self centeredness cannot be set in reverse all at once. Rebellion dogs are every step at first. When we have finally admitted without reservation that we were powerless over alcohol, we were apt to breathe a great sigh of relief, saying, "Well, thank God that's over. I'll never have to go through that again." Then we learn, often to our concentration, that this is only the first milestone on the new road we were walking. Still goading by sheer necessity, we reluctantly come to grips with those serious character flaws that made problem drinkers of us in the first place, flaws which must be dealt with to prevent a retreat into alcoholism. Once again, we will want to be rid of some of these defects, but in some instances, this will appear to be an impossible job from which we recoil, and we cling with a passionate persistence to others, which are just as disturbing to our equilibrium because we still enjoy them too much. How can we possibly summon the resolution and the willingness to get rid of such overwhelming compulsions and desires? But again, we are driven on by the inescapable conclusion, which we draw from AA experience, that we surely must try with a will or else fall by the wayside. At this stage of the progress, we are under heavy pressure and coercion to do the right thing. We are obliged to choose between the pains of trying and to the certain penalties of failing to do so. These initial steps along the road are taken grudgingly, yet we do take them. We may still have no very high opinion of humility as a desirable personal virtue, but we do recognize it is a necessary aid to our survival. But when we have taken a square look at some of these defects, have discussed with another, and have become willing to have them removed, our thinking about humility commences to have a wider meaning. By this time, in all probability, we have gained some measure of release from our more devastating handicaps. We enjoy moments in which there is something like real peace of mind to those of us who have hitherto known only excitement, depression, or anxiety. In other words, to all of us, this newfound peace is a priceless gift. Something new indeed has been added. Where humility had formerly stood for a force feeding on humble pie, is now begins to mean the nourishing ingredient which can give us serenity. This improved perception of humility starts another revolutionary change in our outlook. Our eyes begin to open to the immense values which have come straight out of painful ego pinching. Until now, our lives have been largely devoted to running from pain and problem. We fled from them as from a plague. We never wanted to deal with the fact of suffering. Escape via the bottle was always our solution. Character building through suffering might be all right for saints, but it certainly didn't appeal to us. Then in AA, we looked and listened. Everywhere we saw failure and misery transformed by humility into priceless assets. We heard story after story of how humility had brought strength out of weakness. In every case, pain had been the price of admission into a new life, but this admission price had purchased more than we expected. It brought a measure of humility, which we soon discovered to be a healer of pain. We began to fear pain less and desired humility more than ever. During this process of learning more about humility, the most profound result of all was the change in our attitude toward God. And this was true whether we had been believers or unbelievers. We began to get over the idea that the higher power was a sort of a brush leg pinch hitter to be called upon only in an emergency. The notion that we would still live our own lives, God helping a little now and then, began to evaporate. Many of us who have thought ourselves religious awoke to the limitations of this attitude, refusing to place God first. We had deprived ourselves of his help, but now the words of myself, I am nothing, the Father doth the works, began to carry brighter promise and meaning. We saw we needn't always be bludgeoned and beaten into humility. It could come quite as much from our voluntary researching for it as it could from unremitting suffering. A great turning point in our lives came when we sought for humility as something we really wanted rather than as something we must have. It marked the time when we could commence to see the full implication of step 7. Humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. Are we, as we approach the actual taking of step 7, it might be well if AAs inquire once more just what our deeper objectives are. Each of us would like to live at peace with himself and with his fellows. We would like to be assured that the grace of God can do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. We have seen that character defects based upon short sighted or unworthy desires are the obstacles that block our path toward these objectives. We now clearly see that we have been making unreasonable demands upon ourselves, upon others, and upon God. The chief aviator of our defects has been self centered fear, primarily fear that we would lose something we already possess or would fail to get something we demanded. Living upon a basis of unsatisfied demands, we were in a state of continual disturbance and frustration. Therefore, no peace was to be had unless we could find a means of reducing these demands. The difference between a demand and a simple request is plain to anyone. The 7th step is where we make the change in our attitude, which permits us, with humility as our guide, to the whole emphasis of step 7, skip some, to move out from ourselves toward others and toward God. The whole emphasis of step 7 is on humility. it is really saying to us that we now ought to be willing to try humility in seeking the removal of our other shortcomings, just as we did when we admitted that we were powerless over alcohol and came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. If that degree of humility could be banished, then there must be hope of the same result, respecting any other problem we could possibly have. So when I got to AA and started doing my steps, I've said it half a dozen times or more, uh, because I've been sober for 10 years and almost 8 months. Um, for me, when I first started going to AA, I didn't have none of it. I was there just to meet my friend, and I hadn't seen him in many, many years. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go and visit with my friend, and nobody else there is gonna know who I am. But going in, that was my thought. Leaving, that was not my thought. My thoughts when I left was shit. Sorry if I'm not supposed to say that word on Facebook or YouTube, but it's gonna be said. Now I gotta work this thing. And seeing as I've been sober this long, I have worked it a lot. A lot, a lot. I work it every day. And in anything I'm doing, if I get pissed off at something, I automatically correct myself. Like, wait a minute, I can't keep thinking like that. Now, I have gone back out and drank before I got to AA. So I already know that will happen because I've already been there and already did that. And it wasn't fun. It was not like, oh, I get to start all over again on my drinking journey. No, I started right where I had left off. I went right back down there. There was no restart. It was when you already hit rock bottom once, you're already there, because I literally was already there. And all it took was one drink. I shouldn't even bought it to begin with, but I did. And I learned right then, don't do it again. That's really dumb because I really don't want to start this process over. But I do know that people do and have and will continue to keep trying to work their program, which is all we can expect anyone to do. If you make it to AA, give it a go. You've got nothing to lose. I mean, really, you're already at rock bottom. Come on, give it a good shot. It does really work. I'm living proof. I have family members that have quit drinking since I have, and they're living proof. And I do, every now and then, I do have my doubts in things, but I also have to remember that my journey is my journey, and I can't be worrying about everybody else's sobriety. So it's not even my place to ask them if they have drank or if they are still sober. And for me, it took a long time for me to even just up recently. It took me quite a while to realize that I needed to stop second guessing any of the people that I've helped to get sober, stay sober, start over, whatever it is that I have helped them with through the process of going to be sober, living. It, it's a process, and I need to learn that I can't control even my own wants for others to stay sober. And I need to keep in my mind that it's not my journey to keep them sober. It's mine to keep me sober and yours to keep you sober. I'm here to listen, to be a friend, to be a sponsor, to try to help you understand why you feel the way you do and how these steps and stuff have made me feel and helped me through my part. But I can't tell you that you have to do it the way I'm doing it. And that's not what I have ever wanted anybody to think. So just know that I can't control anybody else's journeys. I don't want to. I can barely control my own, I have to control my own life and my own thinking, my own adventures in my adult sober life. And just know that sobriety, no matter how hard it is, every day is worth it to be that sober person and be able to look at your friend or your family member or your spouse or your partner or whatever it is, a complete stranger. I have done it. God, I have told complete strangers I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm doing it right here on the internet. And I've done it at work. I have told many, many, many people that I am sober and I live sober and it's the way my life is going to be. And I see that, Tony. Hi, Vangirl. Hi, Steve, Tina. Thank you for coming. But sobriety it's a hard thing to achieve. It is a hard thing to keep a hold of on many aspects of your life. Sober from alcohol, drugs, what have you. There's help. And that's why I do this. Because there is help. And I know there is help for those. And the sooner you get it, the better, and the more you can help yourself understand what all these things in these books mean. I still have my defective characters still. They don't all go away. I mean, I'm still working on them daily. And just being able to help someone out when they are having a hard time on walking that sober journey is the gift that keeps giving to me. And being able to help others is all I want to do with my sobriety. Like, I talk to everybody about it. Everybody knows. I'm always talking about my sobriety. And even if I'm sitting at the river, I'm still thinking about it in my head. What beautiful things that I get to see without those lenses on my eyeballs of the bubbles. I don't miss having those bubbles in my face. Um, seeing life through clear lenses. It's been worth every day. Pain, heartache, loss, upcoming events. So y'all will miss me next weekend because I will not be live for anything for about a week. I won't be live next weekend because my husband and I are renewing our vows on Saturday, and we are leaving town for a few days. Something we have not been able to do for a long time is just go us for a couple days before having a group of people. So we're gonna go a couple days before everybody else, and yeah, be in the woods. But I'm looking forward to it, and it's been a long 25 years of going through it all, and we've been through a lot of stuff in the past 25 years. No, it's not a honeymoon. We've never had one of those. Nope, never had a honeymoon, not going to. No, we're gonna go, and we're going to go in the mountains, and that's one of my favorite places to be. I miss being in the woods. I miss it a lot. So we're gonna go up and be in the woods, and we don't have any dogs to watch because unfortunately I didn't want this to happen this time. Oh no. I miss him. I miss my copper. Sorry. We got Copper's ashes on Tuesday, so it's been reality slap. He's not here getting in my way, messing up the live stream. I miss him a lot. I used to never cry in front of anybody. Then I got to AA, and that's what happens. I'm not scared to show how I feel anymore. Life on life terms, right? I wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. That's for sure. I'm ending the Facebook one right now so I can read the daily reflection. See everybody's dog pictures and dog birthdays and all that stuff. It's just Copper just turned 13, so I mean it's really hard. Anyway. So June 22nd. Today I'm free. This brought me to the good healthy realization that there were plenty of situations left in the world over which I had no personal power. That if I was cased with alcohol, or that if I was so ready to admit that to be the case with alcohol, so I must make the same admission with respect to much else. I would have to be still and know that he, not I, was God, as Bill sees it, page 114. I'm learning to practice acceptance in all circumstances of my life so that I may enjoy peace of mind. At one time, life was a constant battle because I felt I had to go through each day fighting myself and everyone else. Eventually, this became a losing battle. I ended up getting drunk and crying over my misery. When I began to let go and let God take over my life, I began to have peace of mind. Today I am free. I do not have to fight anybody or anything anymore. True that. Anyways, I love you all, and I'm glad you were here. And I'm glad I was here. I'm glad I'm sober. And I'm ready for tomorrow because I have another adventure on my hands. Uh, yeah, stepping into something new. I'm a little nervous, but we shall see how it turns out. But, anyways, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys. Be safe out there. Stay sober. And never forget, you're not alone.